Hey everyone, today I'm just going to do a short quick guide on how to set up your UI and a few add-ons for Classic WoW. This is kind of meant for someone who's playing for the first time or someone who's new to the hardcore journey, I guess. So we're going to go through some basic keybind changes, some helpful add-ons, and just a few suggestions to make your first run through a bit smoother and maybe just a bit safer. This was brought about by a recent friend joining and playing, and he was just like, oh, what sort of add-ons do I need? What sort of interface options should I change? How do I see this? How do I see that kind of thing? So let's get into it. So first up, you just want to download Curseforge here and download the add-ons you see on screen. You can leave out Mask and Mask Dominos and Weak Auras. Weak Auras is a bit more difficult to use and not so necessary if it's your first time, and Mask is just a skin for add-ons to make them look a little darker, but we won't get into that today. So I've made a test paladin here which you're going to log into, and if you've downloaded the add-ons like I've suggested, everything should look the same when you come in here. So we're going to press begin adventure, which is cool, and we're just going to walk over here so I can get out of the way. So the first thing we're going to talk about is a few keybind changes. So at the moment, A and D will be turn left and turn right, and strafe will be Q and E. So we're just going to change that because you can actually have more control over your character just using strafe and forward with the right mouse button here. So we're just going to change it so we can free up Q and E. To do that, we go into keybinds here. We're going to change strafe left to A and strafe right to D. Cool. We're going to press OK, open keybinds again, come into the camera. We're going to change zoom in to page up and zoom out to page down. Now we have a little bit more control over our character, and we've also freed up Q and E for abilities that we might want to use. We've also freed up the mouse wheel to bind for abilities, so we can now do mouse wheel up and mouse wheel down, and instead we use page up and page down to zoom in and out, which is cool. So the next change we're going to do is go into interface options here. We're going to come into controls and put auto loot on, which lets us loot everything from an enemy instantly instead of having to individually click every item they dropped. And it's really useful for gathering profession materials and stuff, because sometimes you have to mine a copper ore 3 times, and it's just quicker having to just click 3 times as opposed to having to click and then loot everything individually, which is handy. I'm going to come into names here. I'm going to turn on enemy units and minions and close that. That's the only interface changes I would suggest. We're going to move on to add-ons now. So the first add-on we're going to use is called Hardcore, ClassicHardcore here. What this does is it shows us our rules and it verifies that we haven't died. So we've got 100% tracked verification here, saying that we haven't died 100% of the time. Which is useful to keep you legit and just to verify your hardcore run. In terms of rules, it shows you what rules are not allowed and what rules are allowed, what level you can do certain dungeons, which is really helpful, and it tracks achievements that you might go after. The next add-on we're going to talk about is Bagnon, and that just puts all your bags into one big square, as opposed to having all these little squares anchored at the bottom right of your screen over here, just giving you a bit, so you can move it maybe to the center of your screen just to give it a little bit of an easier time to view things that you might need. If you click the bag item icon here, this is where you can drag your bags into when you pick up new ones. The next add-on is BetterVendorPrices, and that just shows you how much each item sells for at a vendor. It also shows you how many items make up a max stack. So this blue cheese here can go to a stack of 20, and it shows you what a full stack sells for, how much 4 items of it, because I have 4, sells for 4 copper, or what 1 sells for. It's really useful if you complete a quest and it's got like 3 items that you don't need, and you can pick the most expensive one to sell to the vendors. Gold is really hard to come by in Classic WoW, so any way we can get a little bit of an edge is appreciated. We'll do Dominos last, but so MaxCam lets you zoom out further than normal, which can be helpful in certain situations, just to see, if you're running through a dangerous area, you don't want to aggro things, get a bit of a better view with MaxCam, which is good to have as an option. MobHealthClassic is the next one, and that just shows, if you look up here on the left hand side, actually I'll move the character pane, you can see here that now the enemy actually has a number over the green health bar here, instead of, so if I target anyone, it's going to show their health number as opposed to not knowing how much health an enemy has, which can be really useful in difficult quests. When you have to fight a boss, for instance, you can kind of gauge how hard they're going to be by how much health they have. Let's move this back up to the top. We have Mapster next. That just makes your map movable and also smaller, so it doesn't take up your entire screen. When you're running around looking for where to go and stuff, it's probably better not having it take up your whole screen so you don't accidentally run into enemies. It can be a bit dangerous, I guess. You can change the size of it if it's too small, but I'd probably suggest just keeping it kind of smallish. It also shows you zones that you haven't explored, which is kind of handy. So it's not covered in fog anymore, so you can actually see where you're kind of going next. The next one is Questie. So Questie is here. And what that does, if we go and collect this quest of Deputy Williams, it actually shows us on the map, or our mini-map, where we can hand in this quest. In Classic they didn't actually have that as a thing, so it's kind of nice to have. It also helps with other collection sort of quests, so if I get this one here to kill some wolves, it shows me where on the map I can go to kill these wolves and get tough wolf meat, and it even shows on the target's target plate here that it is going to drop the item I need by having this little loot icon on it, which is kind of cool and handy to have. Lovely. So the last one before we do Dominos, which is the action bars, I guess, and like general UI setup, is ThreatPlates. So you can see here it has a little square above my enemy, and that's just handy, so you can see its health really clearly, and it shows you when you've got aggro of it as well by going red. So if you're in a dungeon, you know if you accidentally pulled something or whatnot. The other thing it does is, if you're a class like a warlock, for example, when you're attacking it and you put like corruption or some sort of debuff or a slow or whatever on your target, it will come up above the health bar here as little squares. Just a better visual indication of what's going on. Some gloves. Lovely. So now we're going to do Dominos, which is kind of the main crux of this video. So we're gonna, this is just a basic UI tutorial, so I'm just going to get rid of 5 bars here. I click them all and then move them as one by holding the top one, and then I middle mouse buttoned all of these to hide them. So I'm going to do the same thing for these 4 here and just move them up. Take the 3 away, move the 4th one. The reason I've moved the 4th one is because I like to have that underneath the experience bar. We'll get to that reason why in a second. I'm going to change the width here by right clicking the action bar, or the XP bar I guess, and I'm going to move that to the center. Ooh, doing a terrible job. Here we go. So we're just going to change the width. You can't get it exact, so just change the scale, and that usually gets you pretty close. For some reason I can't do it today. There we go. And then I'm going to change the height, just to have it a little bit thicker. And then I'm going to get the 4th action bar and put it underneath. Going to get my menu over here, put it in the middle. If I can get it in the middle. Right click it. I'm going to change the scale to maybe 70, because you don't need it that big. You don't use it all that often, and you normally press escape to get to the main menu. I'm going to move the bags, and I'm going to change that scale to maybe 60. Nice round number. And so now when we look at it, we have all this lovely central interface here so you get a lot more action buttons centralized, and you also get it kind of compact and clean looking, I guess. They're also easier to assign keybinds. We'll go through that in just a second. So I like to put my food and usable items underneath my experience bar, just to keep them out of the way of my other cooldowns in the top 3 rows. If you actually click here, if you right click on the Domino's icon up here, You can show empty buttons as well, so you can see a better idea of what your interface is going to look like. One thing I do like to do, or it's highly customizable, Dominos. You can actually change the opacity of bars. So I'm going to change the food one here just to give you an example, and it's actually kind of what I like to do as well, because we don't need to really be able to see this bottom bar all the time, because it could be a bit distracting. So I'm going to change the visibility of it when I have the mouse over it to 70, and the visibility of it when I don't have the mouse to like 50, and you'll be able to see now that it's faded out unless I put my mouse over it. It's just like a nice little touch. So to actually keybind, instead of having to go to keybinds and action bar, what you can do is you can shift left click the Dominos button here, and you can press escape when you hover over the squares. And this gets rid of binds. And to add binds, you can hover over the square and then just click a button. So like Q, E, or maybe 1 and 2, whatever you want it to be. I find that a lot easier than having to go into keybinds and find which button lines up with which. It's a lot easier to manage, I think. The next thing, I'm just going to open Dominos one more time. I'm going to unlock our unit frames up here in the top left, and we're going to move them down. So there's like 2 ways of doing this, I think. Oh, we actually didn't move the pet action bar down here. Forgot about that. And the cast bar. That's probably pretty important to have. What's going on? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just can't get it in the middle. Oh, the whole thing's not in the middle. Very good. There we go. So you can see the grid kind of helps you line things up. And now if we were playing a class with a pet, it would come under there. So this is what the cast bar kind of looks like. You can change the width of it if you want. Sometimes it's a bit big. It depends what you want it to look like, I guess. So then you have this lovely cast bar above everything's really central and nice to see, which is what I like about this. So there's 2 options when it comes to moving your unit plates around here. Some people like to stack them up on top of each other like this. So that gives you this sort of view. Really nice to be able to track your health and mana and your enemy's health and mana in a nice way. So you just get now you have like a lot of information centrally to your screen here when you're attacking an enemy, which I find is better personally than having it way off in the distance at the top left. The other way people like to do it to make it a bit more symmetrical would be to have them on the right and left like this. That's what we're going to do today, just to have things very symmetrical. So we're going to lock them so I don't accidentally move them by clicking on them. And now you have a UI that looks like this, which is really nice and clean in my opinion. So you can bring your human racial down, maybe put it over here, who knows. The rest of the customization is kind of up to you. You can also customize your chat bar by right clicking on it and unlocking, and you can maybe move that over if you want it a little bit more central as well. I think this cleans up your screen. It gives you more visibility of the sides, I think, and it's just the way I like to suggest new players to start playing. Yeah, cool. So that covers all the add-ons and the keybind settings and stuff. So I hope that was helpful. If you want a more in-depth guide to any of these specific add-ons, I'm happy to do it. Just let me know in the comments. Or if there's an add-on you want me to go through that I didn't mention, I'm happy to do that as well. Send me a message if you're struggling with any of these, and I'll try and help you out. I've been customizing my UI for 15 years or so, ever since WoW came out back in 2004, I guess. So I'm pretty experienced when it comes to this sort of stuff. Thanks again. Good luck with your WoW experience. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you in the next video.